So welcome everybody. We are talking today about industry partnerships and strengthening those education industry collaborations to foster innovation. And I think the best way to start would be to ask each of our panel members, and we'll start with you, please, Michael. Each of our panel members, how does your work actually intersect with partnerships between industry and education?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Dockery. I'm the CEO, founder, and chief strategist of Design Industries. We're an Atlassian solution partner. Some of you might have heard of Atlassian, but basically we help organisations master their digital operations using the Atlassian tool suite. In terms of industry partnership, we've been working, it's been a bit of a journey, I guess, with Design Industries. Over time, we've had a variety of interns from a variety of universities come through our environment. We've also had a young person, Elliot. He joined us when he was 14 years, 9 months as part-timer. I think that's a very, very interesting story in terms of getting people started in industry. And now we're partnering with the Teachers Guild and looking to see what we can do to help more students get more familiar with the operational side of business and work. So it's the fundamentals of project management, agile project management, code management, CI/CD pipelines if you're a developer, IT service management, asset management, knowledge management for your HR people. So it's about all of those components. So what we've found is students come to us, they're not 100% on some of those underlying processes, and we spend a lot of time educating. And I think there's a great opportunity to teach young people that type of information much earlier.
Thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Ananathan, CEO and founder of 3Vima. We are a deep tech company into AI and robotics, leveraging robotics for construction. We actually have got into the space which is getting robotics into construction, which never had happened before in the last 200 years plus. Automation is very important for construction. One is safety, the other one is time management, the other thing is cost. So it is inevitable that robotics actually takes over some of these works that actually happens in the construction industry. What that relates to with education is we see a huge demand for skills that actually have to catch up with the technology. I think that is very important, where we connect education with newer technologies. As a very simple example, if you talk about AI, 12 months ago, AI was still just very, very, very basic and theoretical. We still don't have mainstream education that actually teaches what AI is for students. And that's a catch-up game that's happening. Typically with 3D concrete training and robotics, that's what is going to happen, because everyone's going to play catch-up and we're going to not have the leverage to deploy. So I think it's a key thing. We can talk more later, but I think that's a key thing, yeah.
Yeah, great. Ruth, how about you?
So at CSIRO, we position ourselves as a bit of a matchmaker between education and industry, a little bit like Tinder, where we hopefully match teachers and students with real-world context to build that strong and diverse STEM pipeline that's required for Australia's future. And you've heard today about the importance of context and the importance of real-world application, as well as being future-proofed and providing our young people with an opportunity to shape that future. And at CSIRO, we design and develop and implement some large-scale programs that help in that matchmaking to bring that real-world STEM context into the classroom, both in primary and secondary schools, but also in undergraduates as well, both at a local scale and at a national scale.
Fabulous. Thanks, Ruth. And Diana.
Hi, my name is Diana Lang and I'm the CEO of the Youth Partnership. We are a work placement service provider and we look after the southeastern Sydney region, and we place over 6,000 young people into week-long work placements every year with around about 600 businesses. So for us, that's quite a large intersection and a lot of young people being impacted. Apart from the work placement program, we also run industry tours, taking groups of young people out to actually see what business, remember the old adage, I can't be what I can't see? And some of the conversation that was happening earlier about how career aspirations for young people have shrunk rather than grown. And I think part of that is because they don't know. And they don't know what they don't know. And we need to give them the opportunities to go out and see what's out there in order for them to be able to make some real informed decisions.
That's fabulous. So what I'll do, I like to start with the why, a little bit of Simon Sinek, Golden Circle. I think that's valuable to be able to frame a conversation so we all know why we're talking about this. So Ruth, maybe I'll ask you first. Why, probably what is the most important reason, the why of why we do partnerships between education and industry?
I think there's a number of reasons that partnerships between education and industry are really important. And I can see from the comments in this room that education and our teachers are so incredibly up for it. They're so incredibly up for working collaboratively, working in partnership with industry. Where there might be a little bit of mismatch, I'm sorry industry, but as an industry, and how far down the pipeline they will come. We've got this incredible need within secondary and down to primary school need for industry to be involved in education, but a very long lead time in actually seeing results of that investment. And that's a real, there's a real need that's not being addressed necessarily by industry. And I just challenge our industry teams that are here today, how might we effectively do that together? We know there's a need, but how do we make sure that we can demonstrate that return on investment when we work further down the education pipeline?
Partially touched on it in when I spoke about it earlier, but the part which is very important is how do you enable the younger generation with new skills? So with the new technology out, well, pioneers like us in a way, which we are fortunate to be in that space to actually bring out a new innovation. There is something that you see as growth for that particular technology. Now, when you see growth, you see demand, you see how the market actually reacts to it. And I think the connection back to academics with trying to educate, bring out a curriculum, bring out a joint experience on testing, modeling, back into the academic space to educate kids and the schools and universities, even probably in TAFEs. I think that's a very important piece. Otherwise, it's like, again, repeating myself in a way, it's a catch-up game you need to make. And that catch-up game will slow down the market and doesn't actually allow the market to grow as it could actually grow. Yeah.
Jay mentioned there, driver's license doesn't necessarily make you a good driver. We were having a great conversation last night, Michael, about credentials and how important they are, particularly in the space that you're in. Could you maybe build on that a little bit?
Sure. And I think I heard the word earlier, someone calling it micro-credentialing. That's pretty much how we work. So you can apply for a role at our organisation. Yeah, we'll look at your resume. We're actually going to skip to see what those micro certifications are, because that's what is required. So if we've got to do a job and it's got technology X and Y required, we look at our resource pool, look at our team and say who's got the certificate in technology X. So it's, and obviously Google's got it, Atlassian's got it, there's, they've all got it, Cisco Systems, etc. And Intel as well. And some of them are super short as well, which just blows me away. You can do a 4-hour, 8-hour AWS certificate. You'll come a long way in that period. And I should encourage, the education sector to take more advantage of those because they're available. Or just encourage your students to go out and self-learn and go do it for themselves. But coming back to the question of why, I think why, I've come from a strange scenario. I barely passed high school. Now I'm a CEO, right? I went to university. And I guess, we hope for better for the Australian Australia and our young people, right? And we can see the challenges with the job market. We're having that same old conversation, and things are moving really, really fast, particularly with AI. And it was interesting. There was some conversation before. We're not sure about AI. We're not sure. I tell you, I'm sure, and I can tell you, my team is sure, and we're sprinting and feel like we're behind. And we can't go to the market and get what we're looking for. I'd love a young innate developer. Can't get it. I can get it offshore. But yeah, where's the conversation around that? And just a final point on this, just from a motorsport point of view, they've been doing it forever. The staircase of talent, that's what Formula One teams do, basketball teams, baseball teams do the same thing, go find a talented 14-year-old, and or even Lewis Hamilton, I think he was 10 when McLaren got interested in his go-karting career. And yeah, now he's a 7-time world champion. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think I heard him. So, Diana, I'd love to hear your why. You started to speak about that when you introduced yourself, but I'm also interested, you had a big number in there, 600. What was that 600? And what sort of, I mean, you're obviously seeing this happening in the real world. You're making partnerships happen. So I'm also interested in what are the obstacles that you're running into along the way?
How much time do I have?
Yeah.
Look, the obstacles are many. You have to, and I have a team of people out there who are basically selling the concept of having young people and young talent in your business for a week to employers to take a young person on. And the reasons we hear for why industry collaborates with education are everything from we're looking for a pipeline of entry-level young people to take into our business, to we want to give back to our local community, to we want to help our industry. So it goes from small to large. We like being recognised by our local community. I have businesses who've been involved in this program, working collaboratively with schools for 20 years. And who've taken over 500 young people into their businesses. So I think they're the people who make bringing young people into their business part of their business as usual. Some of them do it to upskill some of their existing team members in their supervisory capacity. So every business has a different reason for wanting to work with education. It's a matter of finding their why.
Yeah, fabulous. Ruth, you would have, as CSIRO or CSIRO, you would have 1 foot in education and 1 foot in industry. Maybe that's the dominant foot, industry. But I'm wondering, have you seen obstacles and how do you manage those competing priorities between education and industry?
It's a really challenging problem, which I kind of alluded to in my last last answer to the question, which is this return on investment. Industry needs the workforce now, it can't wait. So how do we balance the time taken for education to be able to move talent through the pipeline that exists now, or how do we change the pipeline so it meets the needs? With regard to partnerships in themselves, there's what I see is two kinds of partnerships. There's the real transactional partnerships, and I think a lot of us are quite familiar with those partnerships. They're the ones that are contractual. You hand over a piece of cash, and in return you do a job. And that's kind of the traditional sponsorship kind of arrangement. But what we're talking about and the problems that we're trying to solve are really complex, and transactional partnerships just don't cut it anymore. And we need to move both the education system and all of our work and industry to look at what a transformational partnership would look like. And that's really understanding each other's why and what you bring to that why. Both partners bring something different. It's a partnership that can shift and change over time based on need. And it's not necessarily focused, there's no power imbalance, and risk and reward are shared equally. Really, really different from the kind of traditional sponsorship arrangement to something that can actually create transformational change. It's elusive, it's difficult, But I think it's something that both education and industry need to strive for if we're going to create lasting and systemic change.
Yeah, great. So Jay, how would education, so we're thinking teachers, lecturers, anybody on the education side work with you to help you meet your KPIs, to bring value to what you do?
Yeah. Any architects or architecture related teachers around in the room today? Just one, okay. All right. So very quick reference and relevance. What architecture teaches today is not actually keeping up with technology to talk about how technology is applied with, because 3D concrete printing in what I'm referring to is not just robotics, it also is material science. So the material science portion of it is a gray area for architects, which they don't know how to do designs, how to get the structural in place. So I think that level of up-speccing them to educate is a curriculum or a short course. Like, for example, we do recertifications for trainees at times, right? So every 3 years, you go for license renewal. Let me come back to that in a way. Driving license, you go and renew your license every 10 years or 5 years, depending on your age. Now, these are the things that we actually need to do from an architectural, structural point of view for existing architects, which is why we empaneled ourselves with the Architectural Association of Australia. My drive is to get them to get every piece of information back into the stream of existing architects and structural to understand what it means to use the technology. So that actually gives us opportunities to open up for creating a new curriculum. So we're working with the university at the moment for writing a curriculum for a course. And that actually gets embedded into the study, and we want to take this to schools as well, because the earlier you catch it, the better. My daughter's in the audience, she was very enthusiastic about trying to get into architecture. So because of all the technology we are applying, the wow factor, I think that's where it is.
I think that's really interesting, because I think even myself, too often I think, okay, partnerships, you have a student, young person, we have this pipeline, this imaginary pipeline, and now I want that person so that they can be part of my workforce. But you're talking about, let's align the curriculum and what's happening in the workplace. Let's ensure that we're talking about the latest and use of technologies and skills, and bringing people into their workforce ready. And that's something that only industry can help with in a lot of cases.
I think it's the mindset that it's not all the onus is on industry to do it. Because on a small business, we are resource constrained. It is important to focus on value. What are we going to get out of, and everything's a value conversation. It kind of gets a little bit ridiculous in the end, but otherwise we're just wasting our time and our resources. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. So we need people who can join us, who understand because there's no course to learn Atlassian. There's no degree in operations for an organisation. We end up with business analysts and developers who turn into business analyst types.
So if I could jump back to maybe either Ruth or Diana, whoever wants to jump in first. I'm interested in models of success. What does good look like? What kind of outcomes are we looking at? But also, is there an approach that works really well as far as partnerships that you would love to see happening more in different areas?
We find the real magic happens when you deepen the relationship with an organisation, when it's not just one or two people in an organisation that are involved in the program, because that's one of the real challenges and dangers. Is if you've got one champion in an organisation and that person moves on, all of a sudden you've lost everything. You've lost the history, the partnership, the depth. So the real magic happens when it becomes a deeper partnership, when the business and the education are interwoven, and it becomes business as usual for the business to hold that partnership where there are lots and lots of touch points and lots of young people involved in the partnership. But yeah, definitely more than the depths. It's about the depths of the relationship.
Jay, you can build on that if you like, but actually what I want to do is give you a magic wand. So here you go. Here's your magic wand, Jay. And you can do anything you like now, only when it comes to partnerships between industry and education. And so I'm interested, what does it look like once you flip that magic wand and you get what you want? What does it look like for you?
Right, actually, the magic wand has already been waved a few months ago. So, you said you're from Newcastle, so I'll probably spill the beans a bit. We're already partnering with University of Newcastle to come up with a curriculum which is probably going to be launched sometime mid next year. Now, what this does is we will have a fleet of computational engineers, which is acute shortage at the moment, giving them practical experience hands-on in a training center that we are setting up in Sydney.
What kind of engineers did you say that was?
Computational engineers.
Computational.
Yes. So a computational engineer's salary, give or take, is what is looking at around 90K start. That's fantastic. And these are for graduates who are just passing out. And all they need to do is get an understanding of software, get an understanding of what it means from a technology point of view and how that all relates into construction, material science. So I think that's really not difficult. And most of these things are being educated or taught in bits and pieces. But what the curriculum will actually do is will collate all these things together and make them subject matter experts. So that's where we're working on. Now, the other thing I would like to do with Magic Wand today would be to bring it into the TAFEs and RTOs. Why RTOs as well is because we have got international students wanting to do short courses. And the depth of this knowledge doesn't necessarily have to stay within Australia, actually. We can elevate that, bring Australia into the forefront of educating in robotics and AI in construction as a global leader. So that'll attract more students from overseas as well for education. So I think that is the technology reach and depth we have, and we need to actually leverage that to the best way possible.
Yeah, fabulous. And I'd encourage everyone to look up 3D spelling 3VIMA, just to see the incredible work you're doing with 3D printing and construction.
Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. Who would like Jay to pass him the magic wand next?
Can I do the magic wand? I've got it.
Absolutely. You have to grab it. You haven't picked it up. There we go.
There we go. Oh, the magic wand. Well, this. So it would be about the scenario that every student, let's say year 9, year 10, is expected that they're going to walk into a role in their community. So every business in the community will be able to register. It becomes a tax deduction or something, as part of your business as usual. You're going to get an intake of young people coming into your business, doesn't matter what your business is. So then all your schools, TAFEs, universities, all got the same system, and it's a job path. It's not just year 10, or it's going to take you up until you're 24, 25, and then take you into continual learning. So we didn't get onto continual learning because that's the reality of our environment. It's every day, it's just something new. So then you could use AI to do a little job matching. It's like student X, he lives here, can work 4 hours, interested in these type of industries. We know these businesses are out there, have got a placement that they've made available, and just press play, send everyone a letter, and someone turns up for work, and that should be an expectation that is going to happen. They'll get paid an hourly rate, and so you will have a job from year 10 onwards.
How wonderful would it be if all of our students were engaged and in their own learning and in their own career pathways, and they knew what they wanted to do and they knew how to get there, and there were education systems set up to suit their particular learning needs. And then there were businesses with open arms who then took them in and continued not only the employment but the education of those young people. That's a beautiful world.
Certainly is. Yeah, thanks, Diana.
My magic wand is just at a micro level, and that every school has an industry partner that helps shape and it's a local partner as well, based on local needs. And there's an uplift of educators uplifting industry and industry uplifting educators.
Yeah, perfect.
Final question, and we'll just make it a maximum 2-3 sentences. But if I look out to the audience here, I see pretty much everybody could be, and sometimes has been today, up on stage here with us. This is an audience that is very intelligent, very connected, and very much primed for this conversation. So I think we rarely get an opportunity like this to think practically. And what's one thing that you would say to the audience? What can you do to help build partnerships between education and industry? So whoever would like to go first, that's fine. Yeah,
I've
go
got that.
again. Fantastic. Thanks, Ruth.
My thing would be look at industry needs now and into the future and have conversations. Don't just assume the program that you're running is meeting industry needs. It has to be almost in a kind of co-design way.
Is there a program at CSIRO that you would like them to look up to help with that?
There is a program. There's a few programs in CSIRO, and I imagine a lot of people in this room would know about STEM Professionals in Schools. It's a long-running program that matchmakes between industry professionals and teachers in the classroom to bring real-world context into the classroom. That's designed to create long-term individual partnerships between teachers and industry professionals. If you don't know about it, really happy to chat to you about it. We've got about 850 partnerships. Some of them are going for 15, 16 years. So if you don't know about it, Google it or come and have a chat. Really happy to chat about it.
Diana is deep in thought.
Talk to your work placement service provider. Every single school is connected to an organisation like the Youth Partnership that has a huge network into business. And a lot of the time there's business and industry who desperately want to partner with schools and schools that desperately want to partner with industry, but they need that partnership broker in between. And that's what your work placement service provider is. So contact your work placement service provider and say, hey, I've got a magic idea. Help me to find someone to partner with.
You'd be happy for people here to reach out to you as well, would you? Absolutely. Answers absolutely. Okay. Who's next? Michael, Jay?
I think engage with industry, but I guess what I'm thinking is everyone's kind of wants the same thing. They're doing similar things in different different levels of success. Surely the opportunity is to come together, not just at a state level, but federal and across the entire education system, and try and share what's the best practice around this, and perhaps have a conversation about Australia best practice. Because if everyone runs off and does it in a different way, it just feels to me like it will be scattered for a long time until someone says we've got to pull it all together. So why not just start that conversation now?
Lovely.
Yeah, excellent points. Actually, my added input would be to not just use the relationship with the state and federal levels for one particular technology, but bring in the entire industry which actually relates to it, from because there's compliance required. You need safety engineers who come on site. So you have certifiers, building certifiers. So I think the need is beyond just education for upcoming students and kids, but it's also for industry. Long story short, I think there's a lot of things that we need to bring together to enable that support and garner it. Resources are limited, so we need more partners in this.